all know that theme. That's the theme that says we're going to take a look and see what's happening in the non-existent world of entertainment. And we go out to the West Coast to talk to Michael Snyder. Hello, Michael. How are you?
Hi, Alex. And they're doing what they can to stream stuff that's already been banked in TV and movie land. But, yeah, you're right. It's a dicey proposition these days. I know that, for instance, we have no screenings, at least not right now, but drive-in movie theaters are now open and showing things, and we're going to mention a movie that's actually premiering in the drive-ins this week and eventually going to be available on Amazon. But I just want to say, for those of you who are fans of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, there will be a premiere today on your TVs and home video units, if you want, of Scoob, which is a new computer-animated full-length film that's purporting to tell how the mystery-solving Scooby Gang of the long-running cartoon show and live movies actually met up and began their shared career as those meddling kids. Scooby, Shaggy, whatever. But, I mean, they didn't show it to us because apparently it probably sucks. So, yeah, I'll bet you it sucks. And as Scooby himself would say, ruh-roh. Whenever they don't show you something, it's probably not going to be any good. By the way, the terrific Italian mafia docudrama, The Traitor, now available for viewing at home via, disc and streaming. You can probably check the usual suspects like Apple TV and Netflix, whatever, Vudu. All right, now for movies that are new. The Vast of Night is the movie I was talking about, opening in some drive-ins and at the end of the month available on Amazon. It's an elegant and minimalist take on the traditional 50s sci-fi alien invasion movie and the question of UFOs. And oddly enough, this is something that's been thrown into the public eye of late, maybe as a distraction from the issues currently facing us. But this movie is also the debut feature from director, co-screenwriter Andrew Patterson, and this bodes well for his career. It's set in a small New Mexico town, and the movie moves like a cat from spot to spot. There's some interesting tracking shots, which I think you'll notice as interesting stylistic flourishes. There's the high school gym, the town switchboard, a bare-bones radio station on the outskirts of town, and so on. As the camera follows a young, ambitious local DJ and his teen sidekick, who's a science-minded high school girl who also works an evening shift as the local telephone operator. And they're ordinary people with dreams of bigger things, maybe getting out of this one-horse town, but they're constrained by being out there. And then a strange noise starts to interrupt telephone service and radio signals, and the duo tries to figure out what's what and find themselves caught up in something potentially massive. You can guess where this is going, but it goes there in a very original and compelling way. One of the clever concepts of the movie is that it's situated as an episode of a fictional late 50s Twilight Zone-like sci-fi TV show called Paradox Theater. Let's just say that Paradox Theater is a series I'd like to binge. The Vast of Night. Okay, moving on. Capone. Oh, my God. Josh Trank is the one-time wunderkind whose low-budget superhero hit Chronicle led to him getting the job of reimagining a Marvel Comics property for the Fox outside the Marvel Comics universe. Fantastic Four. It was a blockbuster of a bomb. I mean, it just didn't work. And it's been 5 years since then. And finally, we have a follow-up film by Trank, the incredibly underwhelming and bizarre Capone. It's pretty much 103 minutes investigating the inner dementia of Al Fonz Capone's final year of life at his Florida estate in the late 1940s, suffering from syphilis brain with his wife May by his side. Some loyalists are guarding him, and the feds are sitting, tapping his phone and bugging the house to eavesdrop on what was often gibberish from old Scarface. He's played by Tom Hardy in shambling fashion, but it's sort of stunning on some level. The story, they let him out a year left in his life. He was just such a wreck, so he never finished his term in jail. Anyway, the G-men were hoping for crucial information, but Capone who was called Fonz by his intimates, was on this downward spiral. And Trank has fashioned it as a criminal boss's fever dream, with a lifetime of sins catching up to him. And Hardy delivers, admittedly, a fascinating performance, but I wasn't sure whether it was fascinating because it was so good or so weird. I mean, maybe a little of both. The problem is the storytelling around this performance, addressing some mysteries and family matters and loyalty, is so choppy and half-baked that it doesn't really coalesce into something compelling, meaty, and memorable, other than you're like stunned at what Hardy's doing on screen. Linda Cardellini is his wife, May. You'd be better off watching her on the second season of Dead Like Me. Kyle MacLachlan is Capone's doctor, and Matt Dillon is an old criminal associate. I mean, if you're up for some syphilitic gangster lunacy, this is for you. On the other hand, every time someone called him Fonz, all I could think of was young Henry Winkler going like, hey, but that's on me. In terms of new films coming up this weekend, finally, Blood and Money. A grizzled and ornery Tom Berenger still has the tough guy action hero chops. Senior Citizen Division in the effective low-budget crime drama Blood and Money, set in the wintry desolation of northern Maine, in the woods up there. And Berenger plays John, an ex-Marine and recovered alcoholic, who is living alone in his camper, dealing with what appears to be failing health and apparently burdened by the past. John finds solace by hunting deer in this massive forest, which he seems to know well, and the locals are friendly to him, especially the rangers and a kind young wife and mother working as a waitress at a restaurant in the nearest town. But the area isn't crime-free, and John's one last seasonal foray into the forest leads to a tragic situation, which in turn puts him in grave danger. Berenger does kind of solid Clint Eastwood-style work here, with a little more physical activity than old Clint can muster these days. It's a strong enough performance for me to recommend Blood and Money, which, by the way, was originally called Allagash, after a part of Maine where it's set, not after the great craft beer company from that neck of the woods. Anyway, directed and co-written by John Barr. No relation to the grotesque William Barr, at least I don't think so. Blood and Money is a darkly diverting tale of survival with revenge, redemption, and fatalism mixed in. One quick note, previous films that have come out over the past few weeks, underwhelming, except I kind of liked The Wretched, which was sort of a new take on Hansel and Gretel, modernized. I thought that was pretty cool. I could recommend that, and I could definitely recommend Working Man, which is all about the tragedy of factory closings in the heartland. And director Robert Jury made a powerful and personal dramatization of how corporate America and its obsession with the bottom line and its disregard for the dedicated working class has kind of hollowed out parts of the country and stolen lifeblood and purpose. Peter Geraghty is so good. A beautifully shaded, heartrending performance as an elderly worker at a Midwestern plastics plant who, along with the rest of the staff, is given walking papers when the factory where he's worked most of his life, it closes, and he's so screwed up by it and so wedded to his job, and he doesn't want to confront personal problems. He actually goes back to the factory when it's closed. He puts on his work clothes, packs a lunch, and sneaks alone into the abandoned plant and looks for things to do to busy himself. His wife's played by Talia Shire. She's really good in this thing. She can't begin to bring herself to stop him. And then finally, another fired worker decides to join him in his fruitless endeavor. It's a very well-made movie, available, again, in the usual places: Apple TV, Fandango Now, Vudu. I recommend Working Man. It's a heartbreaker. I guess that's it. We hopefully will be back.
Wait a minute. Let me start rolling the theme here. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I'm just giving you a little signal.
What you've really proved today is that there are no movies. I mean, when you say drive-in theaters, there are only about a handful of them throughout the entire country. Right.
Well, I don't be denigrating The Vast of Night. I definitely think it's worth seeing. It's really, really a good and
but I don't have a car and I can't go to a drive-in theater, and neither do you, by the way.
Oh, I have a car, and of course I can go to a drive-in theater.
Okay. All right. Well, lucky you. We don't have drive-in theaters in Manhattan. I'm sorry.
This is Southern California, home of the drive-in theater.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that virtually the movie business is dead right now. Disney is crying like they were one of the biggest companies in America, and overnight they're one of the most impacted of all the companies because everything they have except for Disney Plus, you have to go to, whether it's a theme park, whether it's a movie theater, and they are in trouble.
I saw Mickey trying to sell pencils on the street corner in downtown L.A.
It's getting It's terrible for Disney. It's terrible.
Well, honest to God, there are movies in the pipeline that they don't want to release until theaters are open, and it's going to be a while.
I would say you will find James Bond, the next James Bond picture, which has been held off till November, you will find it released immediately to home viewing.
Well, you may be right about that. And in the meantime, if you do want to see The Vast of Night and can't go to a drive-in, the end of the month on Amazon. It's just 2 weeks away, so you can watch it then.
Well, I can wait for everything. Anyway, hey, tell them where they can find you, okay?
On Twitter, I'm at Culture Blaster, and on Michael Snyder's Facebook page, actually it's Michael Snyder's Culture Blast on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see maybe again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on how the movies build up. But for the rest of you out there, there's more GABNet coming right up, so stay where you are.